Hey, here we go at 82 Maple. It's like Christmas in March. Okay, so the always wonderful Coral Dawn, who's on the other end of the camera here, brought this box up from our little depot down at the end of the driveway where all courier packages get delivered out here in rural British Columbia. And let me back up a minute. So it was only a week ago that this box came in, and we opened it up, and what was inside but my amazing new electronics circuit board, wireless controller that has a magnet on the back that kind of works. Now I'm being really picky, but how can you screw up, okay, I'll say it, how can you screw up an amazing $2,200 electronics package with a 27-cent magnet that doesn't hold this onto the board? Well, it all is forgiven. Thanks to my Norwood sawmill, I built a little stand so it doesn't fall off when I choose to leave it there. There we go. Let's get on to the, on a more positive note here. Look at this. Okay, so you've all commented, most of my viewers have commented about the raggy shape of those, I'll just move it, guards up there, and how, I don't know, there's a guard laying somewhere around here that has pieces of plywood showing through. It's ugly. You can watch some of the videos. Hey, and speaking of watching some of the videos, yeah, that one's less beat up than the others. But speaking of watching the videos, thank you for viewing. Thank you for your comments. Follow me on Instagram, Howard Kettner, and all of that stuff. Let's get on. Look at what was in the package. Brand new guards, and Coral Dawn is going into Home Depot later today, and she's going to get me some more rivets. I need some more rivets. I have lots of sheet metal around here. These plastic guards are still not going to be penetration proof when a saw blade decides to exit without being scheduled to exit and kind of come through here like it sometimes does when a weld breaks. But that's a small price to pay for having guards that actually hang in there. And let's take a closer look at these. Look at how badly beat up these are. Because at the recommendation of Norwood, hey, I just have to grab that other guard so you can truly see this. Yeah, this was my patched together, oh so very redneck guard, but it was put together at the recommendation of a senior Norwood staff person here in Canada that said, you know what, Howard, to support that guard you need to take a piece of birch plywood and put it inside and screw it together so that it'll prevent bad things from happening. Well, what the bad things from happening did, yes, I'm here, I'm talking to you, I'm grateful to have health and happiness and all things good, but it put enough weight on here that these literally sag down like this. I'm just going to grab the camera from Coral for a minute and give you a view of how I had to prop this up and hold it together. And yeah, so if you look closely back in here, this sagged down so badly that right here, the back of the saw blade has ripped right through everything. So it was no longer supporting itself. I'd put the guards on and it would literally go like this, like a kind of a pouty 14-year-old. And so time to replace it. And there they are. I am not going to put the plywood inside. There was only once that a blade actually exited through the front of the cover. And hey, guilty as charged, operator error. I naively attempted to back a spinning sawmill blade out of a cut. Of course that's going to cause it to exit out the front. What was I thinking? So lesson learned, that's not going to happen again. So I won't put the extra weight of the plywood on there. I will put shrouding around here. This sounds like an awful lot of trouble. I put a new circuit board in. We rewired everything, put electrical harnesses on. If you watch the video, you'll see I put split loom all over to keep the wires from getting tangled up in stuff they shouldn't get tangled up in. and guiding them to where they should be. The wiring needs to be on this side. It can't be allowed to rotate to this side because this exhaust will cook it. A lot of work. What's that all about? Well, this is a case of in early 2022, we're going to run with what we brung. When I bought this sawmill, I knew nothing about hobbyist sawmilling, so I shopped carefully, narrowed it down to two choices in the Canadian market with fairly readily accessible parts and support, and it came down to Woodmizer and Norwood. Norwood, you have to assemble the whole thing. I think we clocked something like, I don't know, 100 hours and 950 bolts that had to be put in. Front to back and center, electronics, hydraulics, about $27,000 Canadian at the time. Woodmizer, for a generally to the naive consumer equivalent, was running about $37,000. Why not save myself $10,000? I might get 3 cuts deep and decide this isn't for me. So I went with the Norwood. I've decided now that the Woodmizer, with the benefit of 2.5 years of 2020 hindsight, you know what that's all about. I would have been far wiser to have spent the $37,000 on the Woodmizer, what is now known as the LT40 wide, or whatever the equivalent was at that time. Model numbers change periodically. Well, I did contact Woodmizer, and in Canadian dollars, I can buy that LT40. So I thought, that's wonderful. I'll put this up for sale. Somebody that was in the same position that I was is going to get a heck of a deal, and they're not going to have to assemble it, and it's going to be wonderful, and I'll get most of my money out of it, which in fact is all true. There's only one problem. Upon contacting Woodmizer, I got a response in writing saying, number one, we'll cheerfully accept your money, or words to that effect, and it'll be $57,000. Thank you very much, Mr. Kettner. And I love the people at Woodmizer because you'll see my little Woodmizer edger in the background. So $57,000. Okay, well, maybe I can squeeze 35 or 37 out of this one. Well, not so fast, Howard. You'll get your new Woodmizer LT40 in spring 2023. A year from now. What am I going to do? I've got stuff to build. We're on a farm. Coral has projects lined up. We have 3 major builds on the go right now. A greenhouse, the outhouse that I've been teasing you about, which is going to look spectacular. And, oh yeah, a chicken coop. We have a temporary solution, but we need a permanent solution. Project number 4, I've got 2 24 by 40 equipment shelters to build. I need posts and stuff like that. So being a year without a sawmill, not even in the cards. So let's get this thing looking good, operating right. Part 1 of operating right was getting that circuit board that's sitting over there, getting this wiring tidied up, making sure everything's reliable. New spark plugs, oil changes, V-belts, all of that stuff, making sure it's in top-notch shape. And hey, we're looking good at 82 Maple. Even if nothing else happens, hey, generally speaking, except for in Coral's opinion, this hat, we're looking good. And keeping those 8 fingers and 2 thumbs moving forward. It's warm. It's all good. Hey, just jumped out of slow motion here for a couple of minutes to point some things out. What an excellent opportunity. You'll have seen me on the slow-mo kind of cleaning this. Whenever you take something apart, it's just an excellent opportunity to clean everything up around it. And look at how badly these covers were worn. So that is the back side of the blade that just opened that right up there because the blade was sagging down. I think as I described it as a pouty 14-year-old. Yeah, so I'm going to loosen off the idler here. I'll pull the clutch. I'll pop that wheel loose after removing the V-belt or the drive belt here. And one of the little things that, of course, I hadn't thought of. If I'd thought of it, I would have gotten new retainer straps. But I'm going to take a few minutes out off camera to remove these old ones, mount them on the new covers, and then we'll flip the slow-mo back on again and finish off the job here with any luck. Thanks for hanging out here with me today. Well, here we are, and I interrupt this programming or this slow motion video to say that I tend not to edit a lot. It's kind of the reality of what happens. And so here's a couple of photos of me finding a paint tin to carve a hole in the guard so that it goes around the clutch. I don't have a hub puller or clutch puller, which I really need to get. I could use it a fair amount around here. So you'll have seen me in the slow motion video putting a wedge back in there, tapping ever so gently. I don't want to wreck my engine casing or anything else. It's not budging, and so we'll leave that as is. There's not a lot of sawdust going to get through outside of there because the rotation of the blade is around and over the top. So all good. So I carved a hole, but as you'll see in these photos, I threw a couple in of me carving that hole first. So here's what happens in a day of the life of Howard. I've got 2 or 3 contractors working around the property. I run an active business with a number of employees, and I end up picking up the phone, being on a messenger service, having contractors with questions that need thought, or some level of thought at least, before responding. And then I go on about playing with my toys. And so I slugged this off to the garage and cut a nice hole, only, yeah, wrong hole. Needed to be there. So, you know what? I just love having the right tools. I had a glue gun in my hand within a few moments and put the piece back in place, glued it in. It's not going to show because it goes right behind the hub that fits on this spindle, and we're in business. And that's the way it goes. Sometimes, what is it? 2 steps forward, 1 back. Yeah, that happens a lot in real life, and this is real life. But the only thing that really would wipe the smile off my face is if something happened to the 8 fingers and 2 thumbs that I was born with. Let's carry on here. Well, here we are, and I'm really trying to keep these covers doing what they're supposed to. But you know, when they come from the factory with, look at that, that is just sagging down. I pulled that one up already. What I have is a couple of just little shelf brackets that I've adapted here from household use. and I had them on the prior covers as soon as I got into trouble with those. And what you're going to see me doing on the slow-mo is putting this nut through here and bringing this up. Then we're going to put the hub on, the belt on, tighten it up, put the cover on, make sure it fits into my little redneck sawdust chute here, and we'll see how that works. I left the exit with the holes in it for now. We'll see how that works. That needs to go down, and look at that log. It's just waiting for a saw to bite into it. We're gonna finish this out with making a couple of cuts. Thanks for hanging in today. Well, here we are, and thank you again for hanging out with me today. We're gonna do a first cut with the brand new saw covers on. Yeah, the brand new electronics, everything's ready to roll. Wish me some success in this little venture. We've got a beautiful log here, 24 inches at the butt, 22 inches at the other end. It's a little less than 22, so I've lifted the toe board down here about an inch and a half, maybe a little bit more than that. But yeah, we're gonna take the first cut on this, and it's looking good. That one cover, clearly I have to do a little bit of work on it. I'm not just quite sure why it's not fitting quite correctly, but I'm just anxious to make this cut. And if you wonder why I've been bundled up a little bit over the last half of this video, there's a wind came up and is whipping through here. But let's get started. Been talking about this amazing controller and how gentle it is, and I'm just going to actually shut this down for just a moment. If we look at this scale here, I'm on 22 3/8. That's where I want to start this cut. So let's just take it right off of that. But this is nothing like the old controller. Coral's gonna focus in here, and you're just going to want this, watch this gently rise. I'm just tapping the button. We're moving up the tiniest of tiny increments here. That was, I'm intentionally doing this for the video. This is nothing like the old controller. It would jump a full 1/8 of an inch if I merely laid a little tap right on here. And Coral's gonna focus in on this button. If I just tap this like this, it would jump nearly an 1/8 of an inch. And now I can tap away at it, and I'm moving increments of a 1/16 of an inch. I just love it. And the track speed controller is exactly the same. So, trying to say, well, Norwood got it right. So, say cord free. Whatever it is, it's enormously freeing. There we go, and I'm pretty happy about that. First cut. Thanks for being part of it. Comment below. Love your comments. We'll answer any questions I can. Talk soon and stay tuned.